Judge Napolitano here, kind of on the same subject here, amid these reports we're getting from Dow Jones that their NFL will force this issue of demanding that players stand for the national anthem. First of all, Judge, welcome. Can they do that? Can they force that?
I don't think they can do it in stadiums that are owned by the government, which is most of them. And they certainly can't do it in states that grant workplace protection to employees to defy management by expressing a political opinion in the workplace, as long as that expression doesn't impair the work product. So if they could show that taking the knee causes a reduction in revenue to the teams, then they could prohibit it. But if prohibiting taking the knee is done just to produce some sort of patriotic or political conformity, then they won't succeed.
But what if the slide in ratings that we've been seeing, that a lot of people are blaming on this whole dust-up and how fans are getting sick of it, eventually would translate into advertising revenue that could, then they'd have something, right?
Yes, then they would. So they can compel conformity in order to produce the product, but not in order to produce political orthodoxy.
Right. Let me switch a little bit to Jemele Hill, this ESPN broadcaster, sidelined for 2 weeks, not too long after she was reprimanded, though not sidelined, for comments she made about President Trump and his coming down hard on the NFL. What do you make of this?
I think calling President Trump a white supremacist is reprehensible, baseless, but is part of the left's mantra, and I think we're going to hear it for as long as he's president. Every time they say it, it stings. It's so incendiary, so I'm not surprised that it came out. But ESPN, just like Fox News, is not the government, and so it's not regulated by the First Amendment. And so ESPN, just as would be the case here, can discipline people who say things on air that violate their standards.
But what if they didn't say it on air?
Well, they may want
to
take the position that she is a public person, and whenever she says something in a public arena, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or in front of one of their cameras, if it impairs their product, her reputation, then they can discipline it. Stated differently, they're on solid grounds.
But, you know, I was thinking of what Hill was saying, and then go after the advertisers. That's what you boycott. It cuts both ways, right? I mean, you all of a sudden can see the demonstrable effect of people ticked off with the NFL and how this is sort of morphed into a social cause, boycotting advertisers.
Well, look, Twitter has boycotted a pro-life campaign ad from Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn.
Right.
And there's nothing we can do about it because Twitter owns the bulletin board. But we could boycott Twitter's advertisers. So boycotting the advertisers is a free market way of addressing a free speech issue when you're not able to address it in any other way.
Yeah. In the case of Jemele Hill, though, do you think she's given more latitude and more forgiveness than let's say, if this were a conservative ranting against, let's say, Barack Obama? That there is, I know you're just seeing things through the law, but that there's a very different reaction here than there would be, let's say, with the Kurt Schilling.
I think in a lot of circles in New York City, it's very fashionable to bash the president in the harshest possible tones. And of course, as we know, he bashes back using language that's equally as harsh sometimes. So I was a little surprised at what I'm not surprised at what she said, but I was surprised at what they did.
All right. Finally, I'd be remiss if you mentioned the president, and he's been in this dust-up. It's not quite a law question, but I do wonder whether it gets in the way of him passing legislation, alienating the United States Senator potentially through nasty tweets. Now, that is his modus operandi, and he's been very successful at. Many argue it's what made him president of the United States. Do you think that this hurts what he wants to get done?
I think in the short run, yes, but not in the long run. A lot of the people that he's bashed are his good buddies now, like Lindsey Graham, with whom he golfed yesterday, and Marco Rubio.
That's right.
But I think it hurts both of them. However Senator Corker votes, it's going to be presumed that it's personal rather than policy or political. And the president's going to have to reach out and sort of kiss and make up. And Donald Trump does that very well.
Yeah. So you're not worried that this has any long-term damaging effects?
No, I'm not.
Because I just sometimes think he's burning a lot of bridges.
It appears that he is burning a lot of bridges, but I think these guys are all professionals.
That's the judge's way of saying, I'm not really going to answer your question. That's how good a lawyer and a judge he was and remains, by the way. You're the best, Judge. Thank you very, very much.
Pleasure, Neil.